MMCH, your guide through mass media communication. Welcome to week 2. This week we'll be looking at recordings in the mass media. For today's interview, I have the pleasure to talk with the lead vocals and band member of Half Price Buddha. She's also an English instructor and one of the coolest ladies I know. Please help me welcome Theresa Turk. Thank you for joining us, Theresa. Well, first, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Sure, I'm happy to.
My first question is, could you share some information with us about how your band got started, how you all started a band of Half Price Buddha?
Well, the band had been around for quite a while before I joined, and they, had different people come and go over the years, but I found them on an ad on Craigslist, which is usually, at least in my experience, it's where a lot of local bands get new singers or musicians. And so I just answered the ad because it just kind of spoke to me. And I'd been in another band before and it wasn't a good fit. And then I answered this ad. I went to the guy who leads the band. His name's Jude. I went to his house and we just hung out with the lead guitarist and just played music. And we were really like-minded and we all liked the same stuff. So yeah, that's how it started.
I like that.
Yeah, it was.
I never would have thought Craigslist at all. That's kind of surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, we've, through the years, we've had to get different guitar players, different bass players. Bass players have been a really difficult point for us. We went through probably 4 bass players and we got all of them on Craigslist. Yeah. Including our current bass player who is my husband. And that's how we met, was in the band.
That's cute. That's a cool story. Right? So what is it like being the lead vocals of the band?
Well, we all sing, which is kind of different. We're kind of like Fleetwood Mac,
Love that.
Everybody sings. So Jessica and I are probably the primary singers. But one of the things that makes us a little unique is that we do a lot of harmony. At almost all of our songs, except for a couple that Jessica does because she's amazing and very powerful. But most of our songs are at least 2-part harmony, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. So literally everyone in the band sings except the bass player, my husband. Yeah, there's no singing. So yeah, we, everybody takes the lead now and then, with Jess and I primarily doing the lead vocals. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I don't think I'd be interested in being a sole lead vocalist, and I don't think I'm strong enough to be. I like this a lot, and that was what attracted me to them the first time I met them was the harmonies and the strength of the vocals. It's just super fun. Yeah.
So since you're all kind of singers, do you walk around? Are you able to engage with each other as you sing? That kind of thing?
There are 7 of us in the band now, so that's a full stage. So we pretty much stay stationary when we're performing. Our leader, he's very laid back and he likes to he likes when we do gigs to have them be a little informal and to make it feel like somebody's in his basement while we're practicing. And so we try to kind of set up in a semicircle so that we can have the audience feel like they're kind of a part of it. Yeah.
I like that. That's nice. Yeah.
It's very warm and inviting. Yeah.
Who would you say your target audience is? Do you write your music towards someone or do you just...
Well, we don't do original music. We just do covers. So we are just a cover band, but we're not your typical bar cover band. We do a lot of, private parties, summer, like things in the park when a park will have some live music. We had a cafe in Overland Park that we used to play at every 3rd Friday, and now it's a little tea shop, and we've been playing there in the evenings. So we're not, we just don't like the bar scene. We've done that The first few years I was in the band, we certainly played at a few bars now and then. But, you're playing from 9 to 1, and we're all old except Jessica. We don't want to be out that late. And it's just a different scene. We want people to come see the music and not so much have it be the background and what they're they're not there primarily for. So we're not really into bars like that. Yeah.
What are your favorite cover songs to play?
Tom Petty songs. We have a really eclectic mix, and all of us bring songs to the table to see if they're a good fit. We do some blues and some weird stuff. We'll do Johnny Cash, and we'll do some Brandi Carlile, and a lot of Beatles, because Jude and I are big Beatles fans. So yeah, a lot of Eagles. It's all stuff that we like. We don't do stuff we don't like, So yeah, it's quite a mix. My husband's in another band right now. They just started with Jessica, our lead singer, and our drummer. They kind of have formed their own group with a different guitar player, and they're actually doing almost all original music. They started out with covers, and as they've been together longer, they're writing music together as a band, which I think is so cool. And they're getting to a point where they're ready to put together an EP and then eventually a CD. So yeah, it's a whole different. It's a different genre, almost a different beast than what we do at Half Price Buddha, which is just kicking around, having a good time.
Okay. Well, at Half Price Buddha, have you guys ever recorded music or got an EP or CD going?
No, and mostly because we're not doing originals. We've put together stuff just for fun, and certainly made videos of us performing and put on YouTube to help us, to help market. And we've got a big fan base, and people like to see that, especially like friends and family that live out of town that can't see us perform all the time. We'll try to put stuff on our social media. But when you're doing covers, you can't record them without paying a fee to the artist. There's a whole lot of laws about ASCAP violations and ASCAP licensing laws, and technically you're not supposed to play other people's music even at a bar or anywhere live unless the venue has paid their ASCAP fees, and then they can have anybody do stuff. I don't know how many people actually do that, but I mean, we have played at places that you're legal to do cover music, but you cannot record without getting in trouble. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising. Yeah.
I know. I mean, you can do stuff on YouTube. I can, make a YouTube video. We could make a YouTube video doing somebody's song, but we're not getting paid for that. If we recorded an Eagles song on a CD, it would be stealing. So we can't do that because we'd be making money off the CD or off the download. So yeah, we can't do that.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. There's lots of rules. You can get in trouble.
Well, have you seen so you said your husband's starting to work with his band and getting an EP. Is that like a whole different side of it that you're starting to see?
Completely. And because, I'm his wife and I'm also really close to the band, I've been kind of helping them with their social media, and they're taking it to a whole different level. For them, they really want exposure. They want they want to get booked regionally and nationally if they could. So, the little marketing and social media work that we did with Half Price Buddha is, even in the 9 years that I've been in the band, it's changed tremendously. But with Into the Gray, which is my husband and Jessica's band, they're using Instagram, they're using Facebook, they've created promotional materials. They have t-shirts now that they're selling. They have stickers that they're giving away. So they have a merch table, which we never had with Half Price Buddha. And yeah, they're getting ready to record. They've got almost 10 songs to the point where they're ready to go. And they've been performing them all live since January when they started to get some response and to tweak them a bit. And yeah, then they're going to go in the studio. And the studio's fun. I actually got to experience that with a friend of ours who did his first CD about a year ago, and I got to help sing background on that, and it's super fun. Yeah.
So what do you go through to like record a song in the studio?
Well,
Like, do you only get a set amount of time? Like I've seen on TV, you only get
yes.
so much.
Yeah. Well, it's expensive. You have to rent the studio time, and you have to have somebody who's a recording engineer do it for you. And they usually record things separately. They'll do the music first, and sometimes even an instrument at a time. And then when I came in and did the vocals for my friend, you have headphones on so that you can hear the song and hear the other vocalist, so that, because I was harmonizing with him and with another vocalist. So you're doing that while you're listening to other stuff that's been recorded. And so then at the end of it all, once you get all of your recording down, then the artist or artists sit down with the sound engineer and they try to mix it the way they like it. And that's beyond my skills, I think. But I know that when Into the Gray gets into that, they'll probably all be in the room with the sound engineer working on it. And they're fairly seasoned, experienced musicians. And I know their lead guitarist has done this before, so he has some experience having stuff recorded already. And my husband does too. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Oh, cool.
I know.
So you said you've been doing like a little bit of the social media for your husband's band Into the Gray. What kind of things do you do on social media to try and get an audience going?
Well, it's different, like I said, than it was when we first started Half Price Buddha, and all we did was post our gigs. And now, first you have to try to find a way to play, and they're just starting out. They don't have a reputation yet, so they're kind of taking gigs. Whoever asks them to play, they play. They're starting to get more selective so that they can really get the gigs that they really want. So we've made a list of venues in the community that are music-driven venues, and so we're starting to market to them. So they have a website. We take video at all of their gigs, give it to the guitarist, who's also an IT guy, which is super handy, and he edits it all so that it's marketable stuff, so that when you go on that website, you're seeing a good representation of what they do. They also put video up on Facebook and Instagram. There wasn't any Instagram when we first started Half Price Buddha. I think, Facebook was brand new back then. At least I was new to it. But they're all even the young singer, who's, I think she's 30, they're not very techie savvy. So, and I'm certainly not young and savvy, but I do know from having teenage daughters that you have to put content up on your social media all the time to keep things fresh. And so I'm always encouraging them to get in there. You got to put something up today, even if it's just, they practice every week, even if it's just a snippet of you practicing or blinking out a song on the piano, because that's what people like to see. And especially on Instagram, people they feel connected to you if they follow you on Instagram and they see what you're doing. Like, they're kind of in the know, So it's just encouraging them to get as much stuff out there as they possibly can. And eventually, especially when they have their EP recorded, get a YouTube channel going.
Definitely.
And that's how most people find music now. My teenagers don't listen to the radio ever. They find all of their artists on YouTube or Spotify. Yeah. That's what they
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has changed dramatically than when I was a kid. It's even changed since I started in the band. So yeah.
It's all changed so quickly, just in the last like 5 years, I think. It's just been
Yep.
dramatic change. And
And it just continues to change. I think the coolest part is that you can feel so connected to the music and the artists that you like. And my husband and I have talked about that, how when we were kids back in, the 70s and 80s, you were lucky if you could see your favorite band, the one time in 10 years that they might come near your town, and maybe you could see an interview in Rolling Stone with them. But now, I mean, you look at your phone and there's your artist, and they're in concert doing this and that and the other thing. And we see a lot of local and regional music. My husband and I, we go to a local venue that we just love. And we have seen regional and national artists that we then follow on social media. And I've messaged them and have conversations with them. And it's like, this is really cool. They're like my friend now. And it's just a whole different world. And the number of people that you can build relationships with musically and get as your fan base it's infinite. Yeah. So it's exciting time. Yeah.
it really is. It's fun. It's like you said, you get connected.
Yeah.
What would you say are the biggest challenges that face a band now in the 21st century with all that connection?
It's overwhelming, especially for people who aren't familiar with it all. Every time I talk about it with Into the Gray, because they're the ones who really need to get out there, they're like, God, I think we need a full-time social media person. We don't know what we're doing. And I think that whole aspect of it can be really, really overwhelming. And there's so much more music available out there than there ever has been. And so you wonder if you're just going to get lost in the shuffle, or if you're really going to, have an opportunity to get a fan base and keep. And we have friends who are in bands who have toured regionally. They're going to other states and performing. So we know it's possible, and it's just that's exciting. But I think the challenges are just that it gets a little overwhelming at times. Yeah. It's still just people making music and having a good time. And musicians are wonderful people. It's not a competition. It's not like sports or work where somebody's always trying to be the best. There is no be the best. And everybody lifts each other up, and everybody goes and supports each other. And it's a lovely, lovely little world. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really great. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about getting into the social media marketing for bands?
I would say put the bulk of your energy into your music first and foremost. You got to be good. You got to have good product. You got to love what you do. But yeah, I think promoting wise, it's all about getting yourself out there and making sure you have good content on your social media sites, and video from performances and pictures and links to your merch and links to your website, which I don't think a lot of people go to, but have as much information on your social media as you would on your website so that it's accessible, and keep it fresh, because people get bored and people have teeny tiny little attention spans, and you have to keep being in their face. And the more musicians and people that you support on social media, the more you'll get that back. We just had a conversation like that the other night, and I said, you guys have to follow pages in order to get followers, because the only people who are following you right now are people who already know you. You got to get it out there. So it's a constant keeping track of piece. And, musicians just want to work to practice their songs and sing. And this whole piece, you have to kind of have a love for it, a little knowledge of it, and an affinity to it to make it work for you.
Well, thank you for talking with us today. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.